My favourite weapon in Hades is Malphon the Twin Fists. While other weapons tend to do more damage or give more leeway with their longer reach or have more potentially broken upgrades, none of them feel as good as the fists do. True to their design, your reach is very short, necessitating that you get in close, cutting short your potential reaction time as the enemies barely need to move more than an inch to hit you. And yet, there's a thrill to be found in this that no other weapon provides. An ecstatic glee in pummeling your foes and dodging out of the way, building an invisible combo meter as you lay down a primal, furious rain of blows with almost balletic grace. Each victory feels especially earned, like you came that much closer to being struck down than any other fight before it. There's a beauty and intimacy that can be found in the hair's breadth nature of fighting with your fists, something that can only be found in the savagery of hand-to-hand combat. It seems the game agrees with me, to an extent. Multiple characters warn Zagreus against the fists, claiming the brutality and savagery of their very nature can corrupt, can lead to their wielder's downfall in a way that no other weapon can. And they're right, but that only makes the fists all the more enticing, and just that much more enjoyable. The unlockable aspects only improve on this. The aspect of Zagreus increases your chance for an auto-dodge, granting the excitement of luck-based near misses, while the aspect of Talos changes your special, magnetizing it and allowing you to draw your enemies in, forcing them to move to your whims and not their own. The aspect of Demeter is probably my favourite, as your normal attacks charge up your special to hit multiple times, which, when paired with the right boons, make for a devastating combo. But by far the most standout aspect is that of Gilgamesh, which changes the gauntlets into raking claws, altering your rain of lightning-fast jabs to a string of bestial slashes, and granting you the Maul ability, which increases the damage the Maul enemy takes by 4 seconds before dealing a large burst of damage, at the cost of also increasing the amount of damage they deal to you. It makes the fight feel more desperate, more animalistic and primal. It's only with the Twin Fists that I truly feel this rush. It's only with Malphon that I truly feel like the god of blood. Video games are, I think, the art form with the highest potential for emotional resonance. All art seeks to influence people, from something as benign as making you smile to an effect as great as changing a worldview. Whether it be through book or song or play or film, all artwork is made with the intent to draw a desired reaction from the audience. But where games differ is that it's the only medium that doesn't just allow for interactivity, but demands it as the most fundamental core of its design. And because of this interactivity, it carries a greater weight than any other medium, as it forces a higher bare minimum amount of investment from the audience. This fundamental aspect of gaming gives it the power to elicit stronger responses from players than any other form of media, particularly because so much goes into making a game work. Writing, coding, design, music, there are dozens of pieces that need to be in place for the intended outcome to have even a chance of occurring, but when it does, it's truly a marvel to behold. Despite being what is possibly the biggest entertainment industry, video games are still considered less respectful than other media firms, which is stupid. And we all know it's stupid. And I could go on a very long and very distracted tangent about the elitist snobs whose anachronistic view continues to have an effect on our favourite medium, but that's either a topic for its own video or not at all because it pisses me off. Anyway, I just want to get that out of my system so I could focus on what I'm actually here to talk about. And that, dear viewer, is the catharsis that can only be found in action games that just plain feel good to play. Catharsis is defined as the purification or purgation of the emotions, primarily through art. Put more simply and conventionally, catharsis is the relief felt through emotional release, and because of the previously mentioned integral aspect of gaming, video games offer a potentially much stronger form of catharsis than other forms of media do, and that in itself is worth celebrating. People play different genres for different reasons, and even within those genres, different games offer different levels and types of emotional catharsis that may draw one person in over another. Despite the similarity, it takes a very different mood, and possibly even a different person, to choose Elden Ring over Breath of the Wild. While the sense of exploration and adventure are definitely there for both, that's about where the similarities end, and which you play will depend on what you're looking to feel. And don't mistake me, it's that search for feeling that brings people to games. If you've played Journey, you probably fondly remember the sand surfing segment for its exciting sense of wonder, especially if you were lucky enough to find a travelling companion to slide along with you, thrilling in delight as you glide merrily toward the setting sun. It's a uniquely comforting and friendly interaction, and I'll sometimes return to the game just to feel it again. Or maybe the sense of companionship you seek is more intimate, and so you turn to dating sims, looking for comfort and validation in the digital world and in carefully crafted stories that allow you to feel loved and cared for. Or maybe you're just horny and you want to look at boobs or something. I don't judge much. My point is that there are many different ways to attain catharsis through gaming, and many different forms. But my goal today is to wrangle my ADHD ass brain to staying on fucking topic and talk about action games and what makes them so gosh damned amazing. That is to say, let's talk about the games that just feel good to play. Sadly, there's no way for me to cover every action game that makes your brain go brr and activates your almonds, for I am just a single non-binary toxicity with a limited budget and a short attention span. So if you could, comment your favourite action game and what makes it feel so good, and maybe I'll be able to play it and talk about it in the future. Okay? Okay. I want to start with Hyrule Warriors. No, not that one. As much as I enjoy the time-travelling baby egg turned martyr story, I found the gameplay feel slightly lacking. Actually, that was an issue I've had with most of the Nintendo Dynasty Warrior clones. I would ascribe this to a lack of variety. In the original Fire Emblem Warriors, characters with the same weapon type had almost no variation in their movesets, with only their specials and their break attacks truly feeling unique to each other. And the Three Hopes largely shared this problem. Despite each character having their own quirks and the possibility to promote them to basically any class you wanted, a lot of them felt largely interchangeable from a gameplay perspective, though that's a lot more forgivable in Three Hopes, seeing as you're building an army of your favourites and not necessarily those who offer the most tactile satisfaction. No, I'm talking about the original Hyrule Warriors, the one that came out on the Wii U. Yeah, that Etch-a-Sketch looking monstrosity. Considering it was the first of its kind, you might think that it would be the weakest on the list of Nintendo's Warrior games, but that's where you'd be wrong, surprisingly. Gameplay-wise anyway. Story-wise, it's fine? It's fine. What do you want from me? It does its job. It fills the space. I'm here to talk about gameplay. Get off my dick! But no, what makes this game stand out is the incredible variety granted by its large cast of playable characters and the unique weapons. Sure, the basic layout is the same for everyone. Attack, strong attack, combo, dodge, special, you get the idea. But it's the subtle nuances of the weapons themselves that make the game worthy of being first on the list. There are 25 characters to choose from, and of those on that list, 6 have multiple weapons to choose from as well. And what's important is that each weapon feels distinctive, even when being wielded by the same character. Link alone has 6 distinct weapons to wield, and 4 of the other 5 characters have at least 3, and all of this works towards making each of the characters feel unique and enjoyable. Link's main weapon is the sword, of course, and it allows you to string together very fast and sweeping combos, utilizing his signature spin attack in multiple different ways. He feels the most basic, but that's because he's your baseline, the first character you'll play in the story and the one you'll spend the most time with. Similarly, Zelda and Sheik play as different characters, and their movements and combos are incredibly different. Sheik is a light speedster with lower damage output, but a suite of musical abilities to supplement your normal attacks, such as a defensive shroud of water, a lightning storm that damages enemies around you, and a fire trap that, while hard to time just right, deals the highest damage in a single hit of any ability outside of a special. Zelda, meanwhile, is a magic swordsman, and her combos actually change depending on if you have any light magic charges active. Without them, her attacks are quicker but weaker rapier combos, but with them, she gains powerful AoE damage that completely wrecks shop. This goes beyond mere damage, however, with incredible work being put in to bring about the character's personality and how they fight, such as how Girahim makes a performance of everything, adding flourishes and taunting bows to his attacks, or Hifi fights by dancing, spinning through the crowds with flowing kicks and occasionally transforming into a sword for heavier damage. My absolute favourite example is definitely Impa, with her Bigoron sword. Despite the relative ease with which she moves, the massive weight of the blade is communicated through the wind-up of her each attack, as she tenses her muscles or throws herself forward to utilise her own body weight to help move the weapon that is far too big to be practical, but too cool not to use. The most impressive display of her raw physical might and skill has to be her special though, wherein she takes a full second to build up power before swinging within a first to decapitate an entire squadron of enemy soldiers, a demonstration of the kind of fearsome battle prowess that the mainline games have only really hinted that the Sheikah warrior possesses. This isn't to say that the combat is without flaw, of course. A few of the characters and weapons leave too little impact or are just kind of awkward. Wizrow deserves special mention because he feels like controlling a balloon that fights by blowing bubbles, and he looks like he's violently farting his way across the map. I mean, when even the fucking boat feels better to play, you know you have a fucking problem. But overall, the game just feels good to play, and it scratches a particular itch that no other game in this incredibly specific genre has managed to. And of course, any game that lets me play as a fully restored Midna, blasting herds of enemies with toilet energy from a sky cannon, is a fucking masterpiece in my book. Variety isn't the most important ingredient to a satisfying action game, but it's definitely a vital one, and this importance can be felt in the game Control, or to use its full name, Controlling Rocks to get through this fucking fight. Now, Control has technically a decent amount of variety in its combat. You have guns, shields, melee explosions, mind control, and of course, the ability to hurl rocks at Mach speed. But the problem is that, despite the potential numerous ways to get through combat, throwing rocks is the only ability you'll likely use with any level of regularity, and that's because it's kind of the only viable way to win. In all fairness, the launch ability is fun and satisfying to use. It deals more damage than anything else, and it can be upgraded to throw explosives and even other enemies, and it's all around great fun. But over the course of the game, because nothing else can even remotely stack up to its sheer damage output, you'll use it again and again and again, and that enjoyment will slowly fade into the rest of the gunfire, and you'll eventually lose the majority of the enjoyment you found in it. And Control is a long game, so odds are good you'll run out of enjoyment quite a while before you run out of story. The game forces you to over-rely on rock throw, and through this repetition, it stops feeling satisfying. Control is a good game, but it relies too heavily on hordes of bullet sponge enemies, and doesn't give you enough tools to keep combat interesting. And because survival is the name of the game, and all gamers eventually move to the method of max efficiency, repetitive projectile masonry will end up being most people's favourite tactic, and you will inevitably grow bored with the game's combat. But do you know what game doesn't have this problem? Bloodborne. I'll be honest, I could have put basically any FromSoft game here and it would effectively serve the same purpose, as what makes the Soulsborne series satisfying is challenge. The first Dark Souls game was, and I say this as someone who's beaten and loves each game in the series, fucking clunky. It was slow and awkward at times, and one of the biggest troubles people had was getting used to the feel of controlling the chosen undead, especially since carry weight was so low and fat rolling was a massive problem. However, what made the game so satisfying was overcoming that sense of being burdened by existence. Each boss slain, each battle won, was something earned. Later games would play faster and smoother, but the world itself would also speed up with you, so the sense of accomplishment never diminished as the games grew alongside you. The power of the Dark Souls series was in the build-up and release of tension, and though the games would definitely speed up, the sense that you were being oppressively held down by the mere act of attempting to exist in such a harsh reality never disappeared, and reckless speed was often punished. I say this as someone who preferred to go without heavy armor and a shield in Dark Souls 2 and 3, and as someone who preferred unhindered offense. To rush was to die. If you did not slow down and think, death was all that would greet you in the end. This is not the case for Bloodborne. In Bloodborne, relentless speed and desperate offense is the only way to survive the night, to claw your way out of each gar-spattered pit that you found yourself trapped in with your foe. And this is why Bloodborne is the most mechanically satisfying game in the Soulsborne series, more so even than Elden Ring. To briefly summarise, actually, no, I don't need to summarise Bloodborne, because you all know what Bloodborne is. People have been begging for a PC port of the game for a full fucking decade now, and I'm pretty sure spite is the only reason it's never actually happened. I know what it is, you know what it is, we're moving on. What makes Bloodborne stand out so well from its peers is the inherent feeling of desperation to the combat. Bloodborne is a game that strips you of all defences, of reassurances and of any form of fallback, and in doing so, communicates one simple thing. If you want to survive, you have to fight for your life. Tooth and nail, every inch you gain, blood will be spilt and you will suffer for it, but in the end, the rapturous glee of having earned your continued existence will overpower everything else. Bloodborne is much faster paced than any other FromSoft game. Everything from attack and movement speed to your dodge and even your healing animation is fairly speedy, with even the heaviest of weapons still moving at about the same speed as a dagger attack in Dark Souls 1. And this speed and the aforementioned lack of defences necessitates a far more aggressive playstyle, which is only reinforced by the rally mechanic. I mean, there is a shield, but it only exists to make fun of you for trying to use a shield. After taking damage in Bloodborne, a mark appears on your health bar at the point where your HP was before being hit, and dealing damage to any enemies during the brief period that this mark exists will restore a bit of your health, incentivizing you to continue your assault rather than backing off so you can wring just a bit more damage out of your enemies even as you recover. The rallying mechanic is absolutely genius, as when combined with your speed, it submerges you in the game's massively crafted... Fucking what? It submerges you in the game's masterfully crafted atmosphere of nightmarish desperation. You are, after all, the only sane person out at night, and the only one with even the slightest chance of ending the nightmare, and the mechanics of the game do a phenomenal job of reinforcing that feeling. The speed and the rallying mechanic are two of the four pillars that support this game and the catharsis it grants, and while I wouldn't say they're the most important, they are the most apparent, with the latter two pillars being more subtle, concerning enemy aggression and the game's sense of style. The enemy aggression is the easier of the two to talk about, and it's very simple. Enemies don't really let you back off. This is something that FromSoft would carry into Dark Souls 3 and Elden Ring to a degree, but it's most pronounced in Bloodborne, where most of the enemies have attacks that punish cowardice. People who've played Dark Souls know the importance of a well-timed dodge roll, but they also know the importance of defending. Most people who played Dark Souls 1 played very defensively, and always making space between them and the enemies to give themselves time to heal or regroup. Dodging away from enemies was common, and a tactical retreat saved many a player in a pinch. The problem is that Bloodborne doesn't let you do that. Enemies will rush you in groups, as unhampered by armor as you are, and very few will give you more than a moment to collect yourself. This is fine if you want to heal, since it takes less than half a second to use a blood vial, but it never gives you enough time to really take a breather. What's more, all bosses and most enemies have attacks that carry them forward and lead into longer combos, which means that backstepping is a one-way ticket to a turnout throat. In Bloodborne, the best tactic is often dodging into the enemy, allowing their momentum to carry them away from you and opening them up to a surprise cane right up the beastly butthole. This forces players into a more aggressive mindset, which is honestly what will be the most fun for you. You have to take advantage of every opening, and even create some in a pinch, and doing so feels utterly divine. Finally, there's this game's sense of style, by which I mean the way the game communicates through visuals. Strike an enemy with your weapon and blood will spray through the air. This blood will litter the ground and the environment, but it will also coat your character's clothing, and more blood will stain your honestly really fucking cool hunter garb as the night progresses, telling the tale of each life you snuffed out to sustain your own. Repulse an enemy with a well-timed shot, a much better parry system than in Dark Souls, fucking fight me tryhards, and you'll briefly stun them, opening them up to a visceral attack. A maneuver wherein you plunge your hand into their body and tear out something seething with vitality, showering the world in their corrupted sanguine life essence. These are the makings of satisfaction, of the thrill of desperate combat. It's these little touches that make Bloodborne so profoundly gratifying. Add onto everything else and enhance the game overall. Without these, the combat would never have the immense impact that it does. Combat in Bloodborne is a messy, savage affair, and it absolutely fucks. And while I could gush about the game for another few pages, this does lead into my next point nicely, because while that sense of overcoming horrible odds and clawing your way to a well-earned victory makes for an amazing gameplay experience, so too do the games that allow you to feel like a stylish and unstoppable badass whose chill cannot be threatened by anything less than the gods themselves. I never really got into the Devil May Cry series. I played a couple and I even beat the 5th game, but the games never really clicked for me. And I'm fully prepared to admit that this might just be a skill issue, because I can't really pinpoint what it is about the series that fails to grab me. And with how much I fucking love the Bayonetta games, you'd think I'd be naturally drawn to the predecessors, and goddamn do I love the Bayonetta series. One of the greatest entries in the noble spectacle fighter genre, thank you Yahtzee, Bayonetta is a great example of style as substance. The intent of the Bayonetta series is almost the polar opposite of the Soulsborne series. While games like Bloodborne and Elden Ring aim to make you feel like you're a tiny fleeting form fighting for survival against an incomprehensibly huge world filled with horrifying beasts, legendary creatures and larger-than-life heroes and gods, the Bayonetta series is all about making you feel like you're too big to ever fail and too cool to care that anything might be a threat. Everything about Bayonetta as a character, from her walk cycle to her attitude to her ridiculous shoe guns, are designed to convey a sense of confidence and instill that same sense of confidence in the player. If you do anything in Bayonetta, you look good doing it, and this goes a long way to making the game feel satisfying. Bayonetta is a very classy and in control sort of woman. And at almost no point, no matter how serious the threat, does she seem worried that she won't be able to handle herself, because she knows she's the coolest, most dangerous thing in any given room. Even when other things in that room include a two-headed dragon angel the size of an apartment complex, an escaped demon turning all of New York into a screaming nightmare, or a nigh-invincible god capable of destroying entire universes, and a skilled player is allowed to feel that same level of confident badassery, thanks to two specific mechanics the games employ, Witch Time and the Wicked Weaves. Witch Time is how the game rewards you for masterful dodging. Hit the dodge button the very instant before an attack hits Bayonetta and time will slow down, locking your enemy in a vulnerable state while you move at full speed, granting you a precious window of time with which to punish them for their hubris, for daring to think they could possibly touch you. Witch Time works on every enemy, with the exception of the optional super boss Radon, and the longer you wait for dodging, the longer the slowdown effect lasts, which rewards players for acting with the same confidence that Bayonetta herself displays. By putting yourself in that gun witch mindset, you get to feel like her, turning scenes like this into your doing. It's simple, but incredibly rewarding. Wicked Weaves, meanwhile, are powerful combo finishers that act as punctuation to the banter of your body. God, who wrote this script? Who even talks like this? Finish a combo, and Bayonetta will summon the limb of a demonic contractor, usually a Madama Butterfly, to crush whatever unfortunate soul saw fit to attack you, dealing massive damage and briefly exciting that monkey in your brain that claps happily whenever something cool happens. And because different weapons have different weaves attached to them, variety is never a problem. The player is rewarded for engaging with these mechanics by feeling as cool as Bayonetta is, to the point where when Bayonetta takes over in a cutscene and pulls something like this,
let me give you back your toy then.
you feel like it's you doing that. Again, the whole thing is simple, but it's still very effective. Oh, and the music goes a long way into helping you get into the groove of the fight. This series has some really good fight music. But I can't talk about music in Catharsis without talking about the games of the rhythm action genre, and that means I finally get to talk about No Straight Roads. Taking place in a world where music can be converted into electrical energy, No Straight Roads is a game about these two darks, Mayday and Zook, the indie rock duo known as Bunkbed Junction, and their musical revolution as they fight against the EDM empire NSR after being treated unfairly in an audition, and then provoking the big boss lady in one of my favourite scenes ever.
Okay, listen, honey. You think you can just walk in here and drag us all into your silly fantasy? You are so naive to think that rock is still relevant. Stop living in the past. There's only one music in demand right now, and that is EDM. The age of rock is over. EDM rules this city.
Oh yeah? Well, how about you take all these X's and shove them up your...
And then witnessing a blackout that shuts down half the city.
Right now, we need to...
Hey, stop overreacting. Look around you. NSR may be jerks, but you can't deny that they're doing a great job at governing the city.
NSR, bringing order for a greater tomorrow!
Zook,
Yes?
if I could see your face, I'd punch it.
No Straight Roads is a rhythm action game, which means that enemies attack on the beat, and following the music will aid you in smearing your foes across the walls with your very angry guitar. I definitely recommend playing this game with headphones on, not just because it'll help you keep track of the attack beats, but because the music is really fucking good and deserves to be appreciated. I honestly think that the music is what makes this game feel as good as it does to play. The theme of the game, which is heavily featured in the trailers, is rock versus EDM, and this is actually reflected in the major boss fights of the game itself. The game is mostly a boss rush with some platforming in between, and the boss fights are the real focus. See, what makes the game interesting is that, befitting a game with music as its main gimmick, each area, boss, and map has its own music, and the boss music specifically changes depending on how well you're playing the game. When you're kicking ass, the music gains more attributes of rock music with stronger guitars and more pronounced drums, but when it's your rear getting impacted, the music flows more in the direction of EDM, with synthier beats and more dubstep focus. If you're good at the game, you don't just beat the boss, but you hijack their very theme music, allowing the game to reinforce your complete domination in the musical revolution. The game is really, really good, and I highly recommend you play it. Plus, it got a free Christmas update, and at any point after you beat a boss, you can face them again in a Christmas outfit and to a Christmas-themed remix of their music. It's fucking hilarious, I love this game so much. Oh boy, I seriously got to do a full video on No Straight Road someday. It's on my very long list of future content. Please help me, there's so much to do and I have such bad ADHD. Honestly, I'd argue that the rhythm action genre is uniquely suited to Catharsis, as the games are primarily centered around feeling good to play in a way that regular action games typically aren't. And I can't talk about rhythm action games without talking about the fucking king of the genre and utterly trounced the competition. Let's talk about Hi-Fi Rush, y'all. I've saved the best for last. How do I even describe this game in a way that does it justice? Oh, I know. Tell me, viewer. Have you ever been listening to music whilst on a walk or some other situation wherein your mind is similarly unengaged and just the most perfect song comes on, and in that moment you remember the show or book or movie you recently engaged with and you start choreographing a fight scene to the music? Well, that universally relatable example is what Hi-Fi Rush feels like. It truly does feel like a music video fight scene you get to choreograph yourself. Sitting as the single most functional game ever published by Bethesda, Hi-Fi Rush follows Chai, a rocker wannabe who signs up to get a cool robot arm, accidentally gets fused with this MP3 player, and gains super robot musical powers that cause the entire world to move to the beat. Designated a defect, it seemed determined that he must be recalled.
Defects get recalled!
Recalled? You mean killed?
Rekka ain't picked the verbs! That's for the mooks in marketing.
And joined by the hacker Peppermint and her cat 808, he in turn decides to fight the good fight against the evil Vandalite Corporation, as this skinny hipster is apparently the only one in the world that will do. I love this game so fucking much, you guys, and it really is the best example of a cathartic action game because everything about this game feels good. And that's because everything from your footsteps to your attacks to the cutscenes follow in time to the music. I mean, just look at this. There is a certain amount of satisfaction in watching that, yeah? Well, imagine playing it, and you'll start to get an idea of what this game is like. Hi-Fi Rush is unique in that, while it doesn't force you to hit buttons in time to the beat, it does reward you the more you do it. You can absolutely get through the game just by button mashing, but you'll have the most fun if you let yourself fall into the rhythm of the game and try to match it, beat for beat. Your score will be higher, you'll do more damage, and the effects will add to the music, enhancing the experience overall. This game is actually surprisingly easy to get used to, as all you have to do is look at the world around you bopping to the beat to get into the swing of things, and even someone like me with absolute dog shit rhythm can do surprisingly well, regularly getting B and A scores at the end of combat. One of the metrics the game judges you on is just how well you keep to the beat, which is always my weakest area, but it never feels like it's dragging you down. It helps the combat feel user-friendly and fun, despite how complex it can get. You eventually gain the ability to call in Peppermint to help with puzzles and combat, and you'll gain other helpers as well, each of which will both complicate and enhance the combat and exploration, opening up more and better options. Calling a friend in during a combo can help extend it, break barriers, rack up damage, or even stun enemies, and you can purchase more customization options and abilities for them, which lets you somewhat tailor your combat style to your own preferences. The game also adds a parry mechanic a little ways in, which is your most reliable defense and can help extend your combos even further. As someone who's always struggled with parrying in video games, I found this to be the easiest to get into, thanks to the musical integration. Stronger enemies can put you into a forced parry section where you need to parry their attacks in time to the rhythm they set, and if you manage it, you get the chance to finish them in one blow. If you're not confident, however, you can actually dodge the shockwaves that lock you into the parry zone, so the game never actually forces you to fully engage with the parry system until you get to Karsika's boss fight, in which you'll definitely need to get the timing down, as it requires perfection. It's fairly forgiving though, and paying attention to the beat will always net you a win. This game honestly just feels amazing to play, as everything from powering up machines, to hitting with your super moves, to forcing a robot to punch its own face off, to stealing the show from that attention horror mimosa,
No one takes my limelight and lives to tell about it.
is super fun and cathartic. This game really is just fun, and I cannot recommend it enough. It's like the devs sat down and said, okay, what can we do to make this game the best thing ever? Wrote their options down and just said, fuck it, let's do them all. Every feature of the game builds atop one another beautifully until the final level, when you're trashing bots and zooming around the map to the song Whirring by The Joy Formidable, is just, God, it's just the best. You know what? I'll let it speak for itself for a moment, because I don't think anything I say can truly communicate just how much fucking fun this game is.
50-year-old one too.
Ah, majestic. Give this game a try. I promise it's worth your time. There is, I think, a certain and specific joy to be found in action games, beyond simple fun or entertainment. There's just something you get out of a well-made entry in the genre that you don't get anywhere else. I know people used to, and sometimes still do because they're fucking stupid, claim games like these are bad for you, that the violence on display has a corrupting influence on people, but that really couldn't be further from the truth. There's a beauty and artistry to these things, a celebration of ability and skill, and an important outlet for negativity and frustration. They allow us to set ourselves free, to search for and revel in the catharsis of directing our emotions and baser instincts in a healthy manner, in an outlet that benefits everyone, and that's something we all need from time to time. Because the real world definitely isn't letting me smack robots around with the guitar, and I've got to get my fix somewhere. Welcome to the end of the video. Thanks for watching. You know what's funny? When I originally thought up the concept for this video, it was just going to be about how much I liked the original Hyrule Warriors so much better than any of the new games, and I really don't think it would have been very interesting. Luckily, I have gotten better at this. Anyways, thank you for watching, and a huge thanks to my patrons for helping with the video, especially Lustrous Lizard and Owen Oofs. If you like this video, why not consider subscribing to my channel for more essays? And if you'd like to support me more directly, because for some reason you actually like me, why not consider joining my Patreon and helping me to keep making stuff like this? For just $1 you gain access to my private Discord, $5 pledgers can see my videos up to a week early, and at $10 you can vote on upcoming video topics. I'd really appreciate any help you can offer. Anyway, I really hope you guys enjoyed the video, and hopefully I'll see you soon for my next one. Have a good night, day, or afternoon snack, and don't forget to take care of yourselves. Bye.